Have you ever woken up, stared at your own reflection, and quietly wondered, is this really me? Is this really my life? Maybe you find yourself drifting through routines, work, chores, endless scrolling, yet underneath it all, there's a silent ache, a hollow restlessness that won't go away. If you're honest, have you ever caught yourself thinking, there must be more than this, more than just getting by, more than just meeting expectations, more than this invisible emptiness I can't explain? Maybe, at times, you feel like you're wearing a mask, saying the right things, playing the right roles while the real you remains hidden, even from yourself. You are not alone. In a world of noise, competition, and constant distraction, so many of us are haunted by the question, who am I, really? And does my life have any meaning at all? We chase after labels: success, love, approval, hoping they'll fill the void, only to end up feeling even more lost. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the emptiness you feel is not a flaw to fix, but a message, a call from something deep inside you, waiting to be heard? Today on MindMirror, we're diving into one of the most powerful misunderstood ideas in all of depth psychology: individuation, Carl Jung's transformative path to discovering your true self and a life of genuine meaning. If you're tired of drifting, if you want to feel whole instead of fragmented, if you're searching for the courage to live a life that's actually yours, not just the one you've been handed, this episode is for you. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only what individuation is, but how the journey toward your true self can radically change the way you see your struggles, your relationships, your work, and your deepest purpose. More importantly, you'll have concrete tools and questions to help you begin that journey, right where you are. Let's begin. Let's start with a confession. Most of us live on autopilot, convinced that if we just follow the rules, study hard, get the job, find love, make enough money, we'll eventually stumble into happiness. But what happens when you get all those things, or at least some of them, and still feel strangely empty? Here's the first uncomfortable truth: the life you're living might not be yours. It's often a collection of inherited beliefs, borrowed dreams, and invisible pressures from family, society, and culture. You wear them like a suit of armor, thinking they'll protect you from uncertainty or rejection. But all they do is hide your true self, even from you. In Jung's language, this outer self is called the ego. The ego is your sense of I, the part that navigates daily life, makes decisions, and tries to look good to others. But the ego is only a tiny island floating on a vast sea of the unconscious. It's not the whole of you. So why do we cling so tightly to the ego's script? Because we're taught by parents, teachers, and every ad we see that fitting in and achieving success is what matters most. We fear that, without our carefully managed identity, we'll become nobodies. And so, we bury the deeper parts of ourselves, our wild dreams, our anxieties, our longings, our pain. But the cost is steep. The more you silence your inner world to play society's game, the more you feel split, fragmented, alienated, and eventually hollow. So what does this mean for you? Ask yourself, whose life am I really living? Whose dreams am I really chasing? When was the last time you questioned whether your goals, your beliefs, your routine actually come from you or just from the outside world? Practical takeaway. Tonight, when you're alone, try this. Write down one thing you do every day that feels empty or meaningless. Then, ask, why am I doing this? Who taught me that this is important? What would happen if I stopped? You might be surprised at what you discover. If the ego is only a mask, then what is the real you? Jung calls this deeper center the self, not just your conscious personality, but the totality of who you are, both known and unknown. The self is your unique potential, your authentic core, the voice inside you that dreams, creates, suffers, and longs for more. But here's the paradox. The self cannot be found by chasing success, approval, or comfort. It only emerges when you begin the journey of individuation. What is individuation? In simple terms, individuation is the lifelong process of becoming whole, of integrating the different, often conflicting, parts of yourself into a true, unique identity. It means daring to face your inner shadows, listening to your deepest desires, and accepting even the parts of yourself you'd rather hide. Jung writes, individuation means becoming an individual, and insofar as individuality embraces our innermost, last, and incomparable uniqueness, it also implies becoming one's own self. Individuation is not about becoming perfect or better in the eyes of others. It's about becoming real, courageously honest with yourself, able to embrace both light and darkness, strengths and wounds. Think about it. When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel what you truly feel, even if it made you uncomfortable? Have you ever caught yourself rejecting or judging a part of yourself because it doesn't fit your ego's story? So what does this mean for you? Individuation starts the moment you dare to ask, what have I been hiding from myself? What have I silenced to fit in? It's the choice to turn toward your discomfort, not away from it. Practical prompt. The next time you catch yourself reacting strongly to someone else, maybe you're angry, jealous, or dismissive, pause and ask, what part of myself am I really seeing in them? Sometimes, our reactions reveal hidden truths about our own unlived life. Let's pause and reflect. So far, we've seen how the emptiness you feel isn't a sign of weakness or failure. It's a signal, a message from your deeper self, urging you to embark on the journey of individuation. But how do you actually start? What does this process look like in real life? Let's go deeper. One of Jung's most radical ideas is that you cannot become whole without facing your own shadow. What is the shadow? It's the hidden, rejected, or denied parts of yourself. Qualities, emotions, memories, or desires that your ego has labeled unacceptable. You might think of yourself as nice, but notice flashes of anger or envy. You want to see yourself as strong, but carry secret doubts and fears. Your shadow isn't bad. It's simply the side of you that hasn't been integrated. Jung warns, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Ignoring your shadow doesn't make it go away, it only makes it more powerful and more likely to sabotage you from the inside. You might project it onto others, blaming them for what you cannot accept in yourself. Or you might feel haunted by unexplained anxiety, guilt, or self-sabotage. But here's the good news. The shadow is not your enemy. It's a source of creativity, energy, and untapped potential if you have the courage to face it. Imagine you're in a meeting at work. A colleague gets credit for an idea you secretly had. Suddenly, you feel a surge of resentment, but you push it down, telling yourself, I shouldn't feel that way. Later, you snap at your partner over something trivial. Where did that come from? That's the shadow, speaking through you. Oh. So what does this mean for you? Ask yourself, what feelings, desires, or memories do I try hardest to hide from others and from myself? If you're not sure, pay attention to the things you criticize most harshly in others. Practical exercise. This week, notice when you feel triggered or unusually emotional. Instead of judging or suppressing the feeling, write it down. What might this be trying to tell me about myself? You don't need to fix it, just witness it with curiosity and honesty. Jung believed that the self speaks to us, not in rational arguments, but in symbols, the language of dreams, myths, and art. When you dream, your unconscious mind sends you messages in images, metaphors, and stories, sometimes mysterious, sometimes disturbing, but always meaningful. Have you ever had a dream that lingered with you for days, even though it seemed absurd? Maybe you found yourself wandering through an endless maze, or flying, or facing a wild animal. These are not random, they're messages from your deeper self, inviting you to pay attention. Jung argued that certain archetypal symbols, the hero, the mother, the trickster, the mandala, appear again and again in human culture and in our private dreams. Why? Because they express universal patterns of transformation. The mandala, for example, is a circular symbol found in many spiritual traditions. In dreams, art, or even in spontaneous doodles, mandalas often emerge during times of psychological crisis or growth. Jung saw the mandala as an image of the self, an attempt by your unconscious to bring order and balance to your life. What does this have to do with you? When you pay attention to your dreams and symbols, rather than dismissing them as just nonsense, you open a channel to deeper self-understanding and healing. Your unconscious is wiser than you think. Practical tool. Keep a dream journal for 1 week. Each morning, write down whatever you remember, even if it's just a feeling or a fragment. Notice recurring images or emotions. Ask yourself, what might this symbolize in my life right now? Over time, you may start to see patterns that reveal what your conscious mind has missed. Let's pause. What you're starting to see is that individuation is not a one-time event, but a lifelong dialogue between your ego and yourself, your conscious and unconscious. It's a dance, sometimes messy, sometimes painful, always honest. But what about meaning? How does individuation actually help you create a life that matters? Here's the heart of it. Individuation is not just about self-awareness. It's about meaning. When you stop running from your shadow, when you listen to your dreams, when you start integrating the different parts of yourself, you begin to sense a deeper purpose running through your life. But here's the paradox. Meaning is not something you find out there. It's something you create by living out your own truth, day by day, even when it's hard, even when it goes against the crowd. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Real purpose doesn't come from chasing the next achievement or impressing others. It comes from answering the call of your own self, even when the path is uncertain. Think of meaning as a thread you follow, not a prize you win. It shows up in moments of honesty, when you finally admit what you want, when you take responsibility for your wounds, when you risk being authentic in your relationships, when you choose growth over comfort. But this journey takes courage. The world may not applaud your authenticity. Old friends might drift away. New fears may rise up, but in exchange, you gain something priceless, an inner sense of wholeness that no one can give or take away. So what does this mean for you? Ask, where am I still betraying myself for approval? What truth am I avoiding out of fear? And then, gently, take one small step toward honoring your own path. Practical reflection. This week, choose one area of your life, work, relationships, creativity, where you feel disconnected. What would it look like to bring one small act of honesty, authenticity, or courage into that space? What's one risk you're willing to take for the sake of your own wholeness? Let's bring this all together with a story not about a hero slaying dragons, but about an ordinary person who dared to walk the path of individuation. Imagine someone named Maya. On the surface, Maya is successful, a stable job, a partner, friends, a decent apartment. But every night, she lies awake, gripped by the question, why do I feel so empty? For years, Maya ignored this voice. She worked harder, partied more, tried yoga, tried new diets, anything to distract herself from the ache. But the emptiness grew. One day, after a particularly vivid dream, a dream where she was lost in a labyrinth, chased by a faceless figure, Maya decided to listen instead of run. She started writing down her dreams. She noticed recurring images, locked doors, abandoned rooms, animals in cages. With curiosity, not judgment, Maya explored these symbols. She realized she'd spent her whole life shutting away parts of herself to make others happy, her anger, her grief, even her creative longings. Slowly, Maya began to let these shadow parts speak. She started painting again, something she loved as a child. She allowed herself to feel anger, not just hide it. She said no for the first time to a family obligation that felt wrong. It was terrifying. Some people criticized her, but Maya felt more alive, more whole. Over time, the dreams changed. The labyrinth had a door. The faceless figure offered her a key. Maya realized that the journey wasn't about becoming perfect, but about becoming real. So, what does this mean for you? Maya's story isn't about therapy or quick fixes. It's about the courage to meet yourself honestly. Each of us has our own labyrinth, our own shadows, our own dreams. The path to meaning isn't found by copying someone else's map, but by walking your own. Let's step back. In a world obsessed with instant answers and external validation, the journey of individuation can seem slow, confusing, even lonely. But it is one of the few paths that leads to genuine self-respect, lasting meaning, and the quiet strength to face life's uncertainty. When you embark on individuation, you stop being a victim of circumstance or a puppet of other people's opinions. Instead, you become the author of your own story. You discover that meaning is not out there, waiting to be handed to you, but in here, unfolding as you learn to listen, integrate, and act from your true center. Jung writes, your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. What does this mean for you? It means that every struggle you face, every emptiness you feel, every longing that refuses to be silenced, is an invitation to awaken. You are not broken. You are being called home to yourself. Let's recap. First, we uncovered the trap of living out other people's stories, the emptiness that comes from ignoring your deeper self. Second, we explored individuation as the process of becoming whole, not by being better, but by being real. Third, we faced the shadow, the rejected parts of you that hold the key to energy, creativity, and healing. Fourth, we saw how symbols and dreams are the language of your unconscious, offering guidance and balance. Fifth, we discovered that meaning and purpose are not outside you. They are created by living your own truth, step by step. Key takeaways. The ache for meaning isn't a flaw, it's a call to transformation. Wholeness is possible, but only when you embrace, not escape, your complexity. Your dreams, shadows, and struggles are not obstacles. They are invitations. Individuation is not selfish. It is the greatest gift you can give, not only to yourself, but to the world. Empowering message. You don't have to figure it all out today. Start small. Ask honest questions. Listen to your dreams. Welcome your shadow. Take one courageous step, however tiny, toward your own wholeness. Every act of authenticity is an act of healing, not only for you, but for everyone you touch. There is no greater journey than the one that leads you home to yourself. And there is no better time to begin than now. Final call to action. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to share in the comments. What is one small step you're willing to take toward your own individuation this week? Your story might inspire someone else to begin. Don't forget to subscribe to MindMirror for more thought-provoking explorations on philosophy, psychology, and the quest for a more meaningful life. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out our next video on the shadow, why facing your dark side sets you free. Remember, the journey to your true self is not a luxury. It's your birthright. The ideas explored in this video are for philosophical and psychological exploration and are not intended as professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own critical thinking and further research, and to consult with qualified professionals for personal concerns.